Live and local, it's time for Fan Sports Sunday. If the weekend is a big desert for sports talk, think of this show as an oasis.
Yes, here we go.
Come drink from our pool of hot takes as you quench your thirst with. I thought I was going somewhere, but I'm not. So let's just start the show.
Welcome in. A little sprint of a Fan Sports Sunday today as we've got the Reds and the Pirates wrapping up their 4-game series coming up here at 1:05 today. I am Ryan Baker. You heard Nate Puterball in there on the updates, and pretty excited to be hosting, at least for the first time, with Patrick Murphy of Bucknuts. Patrick, it's good to have you here today for this one. Obviously, we've done some Buckeye shows with the Beers and Buckeyes with Patrick Murphy before, and obviously talked to you a lot on the phone, calling you, setting up for shows, but the first time we're physically in here together, so that's exciting, Patrick.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I think we got a good show on tap for everybody.
You heard Nate in the update there talking about Ohio State hiring former Miami Dolphins defensive coordinator Josh Boyer, also a local guy, here as well for the Buckeyes growing up in Heath. So we'll get into that a little bit. Also talk about this Ohio State defense this year. And it's something that I'm super excited to see, especially with all the talent they have in the back seven. Could they possibly be as good as the defense that Ohio State had last year, which was number one in just about everything in the country? So we'll get into that a little bit as well. Also talk some NFL preseason with the Browns and Bengals both playing this weekend. But Patrick, one of the things that I love about you, and I am a passionate Blue Jackets fan. Like, as much as I love Ohio State and Ohio State football, the Columbus Blue Jackets are my number one. I'm super passionate, big-time Blue Jackets fan. You are the same way with your Crew fandom. At least it seems to me. Sometimes I'll forget even that a Crew game is on, kind of like this past Tuesday, I believe, when they played Leon.
Yep.
And then I open up Twitter and I see you're just firing off tweet after tweet. I love your passion with the Crew. And I know that the Crew were supposed to play a game last night in New York, I believe.
Yes.
That did not happen. Why did we not have a Crew game this weekend?
Yeah, weird one for this. So they were scheduled to play New York City FC, who does not have their own stadium. They are partially owned by the New York Yankees. So when they first came into the league, they played at Yankee Stadium. They still play at Yankee Stadium. But now, the last 3 or 4 years probably, they started to play some games at Citi Field. Yankee Stadium, a very cool stadium, new Yankee Stadium, that is. The dimensions aren't great for soccer, just the way the stadium is built. So it's a very tight field because soccer fields, they're not one dimension. They can be a range. And so it's about as small as you can make it, which kind of complicates things. Certainly a home field advantage for New York City. Anyway, Citi Field is more manageable, looks more like an actual soccer field when they set it up. But I guess because of temperatures and rain and just the weather they've had in New York City, the field's been beat up. And so they said for the next 3 weeks, in order to kind of get the grass back to where it needs to be, only baseball at Citi Field. And that directive came down last week, I believe. And so they had to try and figure out what to do. I don't know if they looked at other venues. Obviously, we talked about this yesterday on Fan Sports Saturday. Like, it's easy to just say, oh, let's move it here. Or, I had some people be like, why don't they just have them play in Columbus? Like, if you don't have a stadium to play it in. Well, there's a bit of logistics to go behind that, right? You have to staff these things. You have to have a certain amount of security to have fans there, all that stuff that we probably don't think about a ton. And so I think that's why they postponed it. Now they'll play it, I think it's September 17th, right before it's sort of the playoff push there for the Crew. So unfortunate because you'd rather have a game and, not have that sort of match congestion at the end of the season, but does give them, you mentioned they played Tuesday. They played the Tuesday prior to that and the Friday prior to that. So there was 3 games in a week. So get a little bit of rest here before I think they have about 9 or 10 games left. So, you can look at it one of two ways, right? It's either a bad thing you didn't get to play, or it's, hey, we'll use this for rest and then we'll make our push here at the end of the season.
So, again, I'm not someone that follows the Crew religiously. Obviously, you pay attention to it a little bit, working here, doing updates. You want to know when the games are, if they won, lost. Give us an update on the Crew's season right now, because there was a lot of concern earlier in the year. You
Yeah.
got to replace maybe the best crew player ever in Cucho Hernandez, and people were concerned about that. Where was the offense going to give us an update on the season so far?
Yeah, they've been good. They've been they're fourth in the Eastern Conference with 44 points. The leader is Philadelphia with 51. They're scoring largely because they don't have a Cucho, who certainly in that conversation for one of the best players to play. I think you could make the argument that he is the best. They have not had the same offensive firepower. They've still been good. They've scored 41 goals this season, but they were one of the best offensive teams in the league the last couple of years. So it's been a bit of a drop-off there. They've had to play, manage games, I guess, differently. And so you've seen a bit more sort of fluctuation with them. But like last year, they finished third. The year that they won MLS Cup, I think they finished second or third in the East. So they're in the playoff mix. They're still in a spot to host a playoff game. The top 4 teams in each conference host the first round. And they have a guy coming in who they hope will be sort of the Cucho Hernandez replacement, Wissam Abu Ali, who most recently was playing in Egypt. He's a different type of player than Cucho, but he's certainly a goal scorer, has scored everywhere he's been, 26 years old. I was a bit skeptical just because I think his fit is a little different than what they've done in the past under head coach Wilfred Nancy. But now I don't cover them anymore. I've gone back to being a fan, which has been a lot of fun. I can rant about them on Twitter, as you were pointing out. But I do still know some people over at the Ohio Health Performance Center, and they're really excited about this guy. Waiting on some work visa stuff. They were hoping at the earliest he'd be in town by now. It sounds like things are progressing. It's just, you have to go through the process of visas and things like that. You do these international moves, and so it's taking a little bit of time, probably longer than people would like, but he should be in market here soon. And then, it's just about getting him up to speed and, fitness and all those type of things.
And then last one here on the Crew. How did you get into the Crew and soccer and become such a passionate fan?
Yeah, I grew up playing soccer. My dad was big into soccer. So I moved to Columbus when I was right before I turned 10. And the team had been in town. They had started a couple years before that. My dad had lived here, so we were coming up. My sister and I were coming up from St. Louis frequently during the summers, and they had my dad and my future stepmom had season tickets. So we started going first season at the Horseshoe, which was a lot of fun. Coming from St. Louis, we had an indoor soccer team. A professional indoor soccer team, but it was just like a whole different animal. Plus, you're in the Horseshoe, right? That was my kind of first experience going there. And I always, big soccer fan just in general. I have a European game being streamed right now as they're in a penalty kick shootout. So, yeah, I will watch soccer regardless of who it is, when it is. I got up yesterday morning before I came in here to watch Manchester United, who's my team, in a preseason game. So, yeah, the Crew has been a big part. My dad and I did that all growing up. And, yeah, I mean, that's how, that's the sport I played predominantly and whatnot.
I think it's one of the things, like, when you're doing this job sometimes, and for me especially, you get so caught up in doing what you do and covering teams and all of that sometimes with some things you possibly lose a little bit of your fandom. And I think it's one of the things, like, we all got into this because we were sports fans, because we love sports. So when I see you on Twitter during a Crew game and all that passion, it reminds me, like, yeah, we got into this because we love this. We love sports, and it's what we wanted to do all the time. And just like anything, there are daily job things that get in the way and give the highs and lows, but I love the passion, and it's something it's one of my favorite things about working with Tyvis is Tyvis always reminds me that, listen, yeah, this is a job, but we're having fun, right?
Yes.
And I love seeing that passion from you on the Crew. I think all of us are passionate about football, and we're excited. We've had NFL games back on even though that's maybe not the best quality football, we've got football back on our screens. How much have you watched? I'll admit I haven't watched a ton. I watched just a little bit of the Hall of Fame game to see what was going on up there, because I get to work at the OHSA NCAA state championships every year up at Tom Benson. So I just wanted to see, a lot of the things that was familiar to me. I watched the first quarter of the Bengals the other night to see how Joe Burrow and the offense looked. And I watched a lot of the Browns game, obviously, as a Browns fan. I haven't watched too much outside of that. How much have you been paying attention?
I've watched a decent amount, and Brandon Beam and I were talking either Wednesday or Thursday or Friday on the Buckeye show. Like, if football's on, I'm going to watch it. Like, I'll watch the UFL. We were talking about the team coming to Columbus yesterday on the show, and I'm excited for that. I think that'll be fun for a city that loves football. So if there's preseason games on, I'll turn them on. Am I dialed in as much as I might be during the regular season? No. Like yesterday, for instance, we got done here. I went home. I had the Bills preseason game on while I was doing some work in our living room. So, yeah, I've paid attention, watched most of the Browns game on, was that Friday night? I watched some of the Bengals game as well, at least when the starters were in. So, last night we were out with some friends at a bar, and they had some games on, so I was paying attention to that. So I've seen a good chunk of games, or at least parts of games here and there, especially when, early in games when they're still playing some guys.
We got to see the debut of Emeka Egbuka. No surprise, he's going to be great with Tampa Bay. Travion Henderson, big play, Trey. 100-yard kickoff return the first time he touches the ball. And then a 70-yard field goal last night. If you weren't paying attention, Jacksonville Jaguars kicker Cam Little, they were at the end of the first half, they were playing the Steelers. They went for one from 70 yards, and we did the math earlier today, just not even looking at it. Like, that ball was put down on the, what would it be, the 40-yard line.
Don't ask me to do that.
Not even to midfield. Like, you're still on your own 40, so they would have been at their own 47.
Yes, that sounds right.
And snap the ball back, and boom, a 70-yard field goal. That's pretty cool from Cam Little. Even though that doesn't go in the NFL record books, I still feel like that's an NFL record that Cam Little should get, because nobody else has ever hit one from 70.
Remember the days when hitting a 50-yarder was like, oh, my God, he hit a 50. And now they're hitting 60s like every other week.
I remember that for Ohio State, like Mike Nugent, and you were like, he's going to hit a 55-yarder, no big deal. And it's like, you've never had that before. And I don't think Ohio State's ever had that since, where you're like, just line him up from 50, 52, 55, it's good. That's crazy, a 70-yard field goal.
Yeah, I have a good buddy who he's wanted to start a fantasy football league for just kickers and punters. Like me, he grew up playing soccer, and so he's really big in all that. And we actually, a couple weeks ago, we had a buddy who's like, I think I can do this. And we were sitting down drinking some beers, and he's trying to figure out the tech stuff behind it. And I don't know how far they got, but he sent me the video. I'd already seen it, but he sent me the video last night of the 70-yard field goal. And I was like, yep, this is right up your alley.
No problem.
He was pretty excited. So, yeah, that's crazy. And to Nate's point, like, now it's just routine. Like, if they miss from 50, you're like, what is the guy doing?
Got to cut him.
Yeah, which is just wild to think about because, yes, as you said, Ryan, it used to be like, hey, 40 yards was most people's long, right? Or 45, and that it just keeps moving back. I don't know. Are they going to hit 100-yard field goals at some point in time? I don't know what you do to keep training to get better and better at that, because eventually there's only so far you can kick it.
Maybe that'll be like this new crazy football league that'll be started off of the Happy Gilmore 2 movie with the crazy golf, the extreme golf league that they had. Maybe that will
They're
be
going to make it so you can't kick a field goal inside the 20 anymore.
Right, yeah. Perfect. Hey, Ohio State, we already knew they had a good coaching staff. They added to it yesterday. We'll tell you all about it coming up next. It's Fan Sports Sunday. Ryan Baker, Pat Murphy, Nate Puterball on The Fan.
Big voice guy here to remind you that you're listening to The Fan, Ohio sports destination. Okay, thanks. I have 3 more seconds. Bye-bye.
At Kroger, you never compromise. You get high quality and low prices. Like you never compromise your meal with our spring salad mix that's guaranteed fresh. And you never compromise your budget with lower prices on over 1,000 items. Hand it to Kroger shoppers. You never compromise. Kroger. Fresh for everyone.
You can save big on 12 packs of Coca-Cola, Pepsi, or 7-Up. Select varieties are $5.99 each with your digital coupon. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Grown-ups, don't go back to school. Go forward through school into your future as an IT professional. Whether you're starting out, switching careers, or a veteran ready for change, My Computer Career can help you get into IT in just a few short months with no prior experience. So take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu. Your rewarding career in IT awaits. That's mycomputercareer.edu. An Elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including the VA benefits.
Got one of those days that never stops? Try a stop at Speedway and refresh the vibe with 69-cent large Big Gulp drinks. Get 69-cent large Big Gulp drinks at Speedway with Speedy Rewards. The convenience stores of Speedway. Valid through 8/26/25. See app for full terms.
Aaron, I'm freaking out a little that you're giving away $500 in free repairs whenever someone buys a new water heater.
When people are faced with an unexpected expense, an unexpected gift helps restore balance to the universe.
Get Eco.
ECO. How many things can our plumbers do for $500 or less?
Tons of things.
Like what?
We can repair a toilet that's not working. We can replace a hose bib, install a utility sink or a vanity, run a water line to an appliance, replace a garbage disposal.
Get Eco.
ECO.
Replace a shutoff valve, fix an exposed water leak.
What's an exposed water leak?
It's one you can see. It's not inside a wall and it's not underground.
And we're going to do these sorts of things for free just because a person buys a water heater?
Yeah, for free.
Because we're restoring balance to the universe?
Balance to the universe.
Get Eco.
ECO.
Give it away, plumbers, genius electricians, and gonna make you cool again, HVAC technicians.
Whoo, go to geteco.com.
When it comes to your roofing, siding, or gutter needs, call Newman Roofing, 614-NEW-ROOF, newmanroofing.com.
Respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV, is a common seasonal virus, but it can have major implications on a patient's heart health. Most RSV cases involve mild cold-like symptoms, but up to 160,000 adults are hospitalized each year for more serious cases, and RSV can escalate chronic health issues. If you're over the age of 60, talk to your doctor to find out if the new RSV vaccine is right for you, and learn more at heart.org/RSV.
In the old days when people lived to be 40, you only had one option for listening to your favorite show. But now, ooh, baby, radio, podcast, the Fan app, and YouTube, just to name a few, live or on demand. You have no excuses. The Fan.
Hi, I'm Rick Germain, and it's the Toyota National Sales Event all month long at Toyota West. With over 600 new and pre-owned vehicles available, Toyota West at I-270 and Georgesville Road has the car you're looking for. And right now at Toyota West, take advantage of no payments for 90 days, and every pre-owned vehicle comes with a 72-hour exchange policy plus a 3-month warranty for qualified vehicles. Come see us at the Germain Auto Mall on Georgesville Road or get started today at ToyotaWest.com. No payments for 90 days, deferred payment, interest accrued at time of inception with approved credit, expires 8/31.
Are you ready for the ultimate entertainment experience? It's all here, only with Spectrum TV Select. Popular apps are included: Disney Plus, Max, Peacock Premium, Paramount Plus, AMC Plus, and more. And live TV for sports, entertainment, and news. Enjoy across your devices no matter when or where you are. Get Spectrum TV Select and start streaming your favorites today. It's all here. Visit spectrum.com/entertainment. Restrictions apply.
Hugs from patients, like Patrick. It's something QC Kinetics medical professionals experience every day.
I hugged them. You should hug somebody who does that for you. They gave me my life back, and I really didn't know where I was going to go because I was definitely afraid of having a knee replacement done.
No surgery, no downtime with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. They give patients relief from joint pain using their own healing properties to repair and restore damaged tissue. And the results? Well, that's why we see a lot of hugs at QC Kinetics.
Everything is back that I thought I was never going to be able to do again. I'm still smiling, and sometimes it gets emotional. I get a tear in my eye because of how I was before I went in there.
Those smiles and hugs never get old at QC Kinetics. It means patients are finally getting relief. And now, it's your turn. Call QC Kinetics today for your complimentary consultation and see if you're a good candidate for these amazing treatments.
Call QC Kinetics, 380-208-4544. That's 380-208-4544. 380-208-4544.
Fan weather.
From the Logan AC and Heat Services Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Aaron White here with your 10 weather impact forecast for today. We're tracking more sunshine, winds out of the south at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Heading into the work week, though, we're still tracking more of the heat. We got highs in the lower 90s and more sunshine here for Monday and Tuesday, but we are also tracking an increase in humidity as we head into Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and that will fuel the chance for showers and storms here by Wednesday and Thursday. And that's a look at your 10 weather impact forecast here on 97.1 The Fan.
We've been your Jackets flagship station since day one. All the goals, all the action, all the memories. Your home for the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Fan, Ohio sports destination. Garnish your Bloody Mary with sports talk. You're listening to Fan Sports Sunday.
Yes, you are. Taking you right up to 1 o'clock, 1:05, coverage of the Reds and Pirates. The finale of their 4-game series over in Pittsburgh heads your way. Ryan Baker here with you, as well as Pat Murphy from Bucknuts. Glad to have you along for this little hour sprint of a Fan Sports Saturday. And the Ohio State football team, Pat, obviously you work for Bucknuts. You're out there. You cover the team a lot. It's hard for the Ohio State football team to do anything quietly, but I feel like they kind of did yesterday with this hiring of Josh Boyer as a defensive analyst, former defensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins. But more importantly, though, he has a past with Matt Patricia, as they were both on staff together for the New England Patriots for a long time. What can you tell us? What do you know? This kind of happened, like I said, middle of the day yesterday out of nowhere. What do we know about Josh Boyer?
Yeah, as you mentioned, worked with Matt Patricia, was with the Patriots for a while there. They won 3 Super Bowls, together. So good pedigree. I don't think you'll turn down a guy who has that kind of experience. And then, as you mentioned, was working with the Miami Dolphins as the pass game coordinator and then the defensive coordinator. So another guy on the staff, connections back to Ohio, being from Heath, as we talked about, and the experience in the NFL, which I won't say Ryan Day prioritizes, but I don't think he turns his nose up to that. Obviously, going after Matt Patricia. Tim Walton was coaching in the NFL before he came back. Ryan Day obviously came from a couple years in the NFL. So I think this is a guy who, it's odd timing right before the season starts, but if he steps into, let's say, like an analyst role where he's just breaking things down at first, really doesn't matter. He can kind of slowly work his way into, if he's going to get to know the guys, help on field, those type of things. So I think it makes sense, especially given the Matt Patricia connection. And I think one of the things Ryan Day's recognized with the expanded staffs that they now have is sort of that Nick Saban approach of like, look, if you're not out there doing something, or if you need to sort of rehab your image a little bit in the eyes of other football people, come here and let's do that at Ohio State, right? Alabama was doing that time and time again, whether it was a full-time position or like these analysts and stuff. He had tons of those guys on staff. And I think Ryan Day, he's referenced how Nick Saban has done things a couple times over the last year or so. And, I think he recognized, especially with the talent on last year's team, like, let's look at what this guy who won all those national championships did. And so I think he's taken things here or there that he thinks work for this program.
I think this hire is big for 2 reasons, and you touched on them both a little bit. But Matt Patricia came in here, and he inherited a defensive staff, right? Like, and Tim Walton, great. Matt Guerreri, great. James Laurinaitis, we already know, him very well. Larry Johnson. But Matt Patricia didn't really have any of his guys. This is a guy in Boyer who he has a relationship with. He can bring in, can be another guy maybe we'll look at it kind of the same way that Patricia does, as someone that he can rely on and trust. Not that he doesn't trust those other guys. Sure. He just doesn't have that previous working relationship. And we saw how that worked last year for Ryan Day with Chip Kelly. Now, I'm not saying Josh Boyer is Chip Kelly, but Ryan Day, when he had Chip Kelly here, he had a guy that he trusted implicitly, someone that he knew he didn't have to worry about, someone that could look at the game maybe the same way he does, see certain things and whatnot. And I think that was so huge. And I think that's one thing that's kind of concerning for the Buckeyes this year is the loss of Chip Kelly and Ryan Day having that guy that he could really rely on. The second thing that you touched on is having these NFL guys. And the college game has never been closer to the NFL now than it is. And the playoff last year, and you started to hear this from Ohio State early on in training camp. They talked about 16 games the whole time. Their goal was 16 games. In this playoff type format, you need guys that have done a playoff type format.
Right.
And that's so important last year. Ryan's been in the NFL before. Chip Kelly had been in the NFL. You mentioned Tim Walton. You needed these guys to rely on that NFL experience. I think when you have a guy that has that on your coaching staff now, it's more important than ever in college football.
And I think another thing when you have guys that have worked in the NFL is, and you mentioned NFL or college football is more like the NFL. Well, now these guys are getting paid, right?
Yeah.
And there's balancing that in the locker room and things like that you didn't really have to worry. There's egos, and as a college coach, you have to make sure your guys are all on your same page and whatnot. But now with the money aspect and just handling all of that, and okay, how do we want to build? We don't have unlimited funds, right? Even though people think Ohio State and whatnot. But how do we want to assign that? What positions are we prioritizing? Things like that. And Matt Patricia's had to deal with some of that in the NFL. Ryan Day had to deal with some of that in the NFL, right? And now you bring in another guy who has some experience. And not to say that that's going to be a big thing. Obviously, it's Mark Pantoni that handles a lot of kind of roster management stuff. But that's all just another advantage you have with some of these NFL guys who have that experience.
That's a great point out of you. The other thing I like with this, listen, Ohio State, we're in the era of NIL and transfer portal, and I feel like Ohio State has been a model program with that. Like, let's fill holes where we need, and then if we get an elite talent that could fall into our laps, like a Caleb Downs, like a Julian Sayin, like a Max Clare, let's strike on that. But let's really use it to fill holes and needs, and then all this other stuff is bonus. And they've still tried to be a college football program where you get guys that want to be at Ohio State no matter what. They want to grow as Buckeyes into that role. And Ohio State is doing that on their coaching staff too, right? You've got Brian Hartline and James Laurinaitis and Tim Walton, guys who played here.
Yes.
Then you've got Ohio guys around this team. And when I look at other guys on the staff like a Tim Hinton and an Ed Terwilliger, who helps deal with the high school relations of everything, who was a longtime coach at Olentangy. Boyer coming in as a guy from Heath, played at Muskingum. I think it's important to have guys that know the history, know the tradition, and want to be here on your coaching staff to help convey that to your players.
Absolutely. I think we were talking about it, Brandon and I, this week about James Laurinaitis and how he's teaching these linebackers the history of Ohio State, which some of them grew up in Ohio, so some of them know more of that. But they're young, right? And that's what he said was like, these guys don't know. Randy Gradishar was the example he used, like that cold tub video they put out this week of the Mount Rushmore and guys going around. And Edric Houston, he's like, you don't know who Randy Gradishar is, do you? And he's like, I'm 19, coach. And it's like, well, yeah, that makes sense. Unless, you grew up a Buckeye fan and that's, you've paid attention to the history. These guys only know what they've seen, or the guys that are, pictured on the walls when you walk in. And there are, not to say that there aren't the legends up there, the older guys, but I like that James Laurinaitis, an Ohio guy, or, an Ohio State guy, not an Ohio guy, who cared about learning that because Jim Tressel did that when he was here, is now passing that along to the linebackers and allowing them to learn the legacy that they are stepping into or have already stepped into. Tim Walton, again, same way. Brian Hartline. You asked Brian Hartline about the past at Ohio State. He's well aware.
Yeah.
Like, he makes sure his guys know. And, obviously the wide receiver room has grown tremendously under him. But there's some really good ones in the past, too. And he makes sure his guys know about that. So I think it's all, a good. Ryan Day has figured out, there may have been some growing pains early on with some of the staffing. I think he's figured out a really good way to build this in terms of, I want some of this and some of this and some of this. And it makes, obviously, winning a national championship, it all came together the right way. And now, you had to change some things, but I think it still makes a lot of sense.
And I think hard to argue that Ohio State, if not the best coaching staff in the country, one of the top 2 or 3. Sure. And the results were there, obviously, last year with the national championship. Speaking of the defensive side of the ball, Buckeye defense was great last year. Could this year's be as good or maybe even better? We'll discuss next. It's Fan Sports Sunday on The Fan.
Hi, welcome to IKEA. Hi, I'm in a whirlwind of college prep. Gotcha. We've got affordable solutions to create the perfect college living space. Great. And visit our website to see how verified college students with an IKEA family account can receive a one-time use 15% off coupon.
Nice. You guys think of everything.
Pretty much. Offer ends 9/30/25. Valid ID required. Discount applied proportionally across items purchased as shown on receipt. See IKEA-USA.com/ready for college for complete terms.
Cash, moolah, greenbacks, toast, Skrilla, chips, bread and mold, cheddar, butter, lewd and scratch. Find the lettuce, make a match. Lettuce, gravy, game on the back for $30. That's a wrap. There's many words for cash, no doubt, but there's only one $30 cash word. Check it out. Cash word from Ohio, lottery. It's $30, yo. Cash word, it's fun to go with millions of prizes, don't you know? Lottery players are subject to Ohio laws and commission regulations. Play responsibly.
Common Man here. I want to tell you about my guy, Bob Capace, owner-operator of Worthington Jewelers for the past 25 years. If your only experience is going to the mall for jewelry, Bob and his team will blow you away. Service, quality, and a great price. The store is busy all the time because people keep coming back. True story. My 8-year-old daughter says to me, "When can we go see Mr. Capace again? He's nice." Yes, he's nice. Worthington Jewelers on High Street in Worthington. WorthingtonJewelers.com.
Your child is sick. With those 4 words, the innocence and joy of childhood disappears. But Starlight has taught us 4 other words that make all the difference. The power of play. Happy kids heal faster. That's why Starlight Children's Foundation delivers happiness through gaming, toy deliveries, and more to hospitals across the country. Learn more at starlight.org.
T-Bone and Tybus are everything you want in a delicious breakfast. Lots of empty calories, no nutritional value.
Weekday mornings from 6 to 9.
The Fan. Live, local, and still slightly drunk.
I'm not drunk, all right? I just have a speech impediment.
This is Fan Sports Sunday.
Welcome back in. Ryan Baker, Patrick Murphy, Nate Puterball with you. 30 minutes from now, Reds, Pirates, right here on The Fan. Just talking a little baseball, actually, here in the break, Pat and I, how it's like the perfect thing to throw on in the background when you're working, doing something around the house, because you don't have to give your full attention to it like you do a football game sometimes, especially a football game you care about. But it's just something nice there. You can pop in every time. Oh, my Reds are up 3-1, or as usual, your Cardinals are beating the Reds.
Well, not recently.
But we'll get back into this football talk, and I'm super excited this year for this Buckeye football season because of the unknown, right? You're replacing 8 starters on defense, a whole new backfield, no Trey, no Quinshawn, no Will Howard. So there's a lot of unknowns with this team. 2 new coordinators, no Jim Knowles, no Chip Kelly. Actually, Matt Patricia coming in. I'm very excited to see what he does with this defense.
Yeah.
Because I feel like maybe it's going to be more multiple than it's been in the past with Jim Knowles, and even before that, a Greg Schiano, guys who kind of had their system. But I think Patricia may adapt a little bit to what we see on the field. Brian Hartline calling plays for the first time. There's a lot of unknowns, but it's very exciting coming into this year. And obviously, we know the talent is on the field. And we talked a little bit about Patricia there. And This Ohio State defense last year was awesome. First in points per game, 12.9. First in yards, 254.6. Third in rushing yards per game, 87.6. Third in passing yards per game, 167. I think some people might think this is hard to believe, but they were second in sacks in the country.
Right, yeah.
They had 53, 2 behind Boise State, who was number 1 at 55. And you know you lost. We know who you lost. You lose a Cody Simon, who was such a great leader, been here for a long time. You lose a Jalen Tuimoloau and a Jack Sawyer, 2 guys who were leaders. Tyleik Williams, a first-round draft pick. But I'm super excited for this defense. And I don't know if the defensive line will be as good because of the depth, right? Especially at that defensive tackle position. I think the starters are going to be pretty good. I even think your backup edge rushers are probably going to be pretty good. But this back 7, I'm super excited with. And we heard James Laurinaitis talk this week saying he thinks Peyton Pierce is a starter,
there's
just
three of
like
them.
Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese are. And those two guys, we know what freak athletes they are. In this secondary, when you think of cornerback alone, and we know how great Caleb Downs is, but you think of cornerback alone, Davison Igbinosun is a guy who has come in here and I feel like changed the attitude of the defense from his first day here, transferring in from Ole Miss. He's going to be in his third year as a starter. Jermaine Matthews is a dude that I fell in love with watching him play in a state championship game for Cincinnati Winton Woods. He's just got a swagger about him. And his first time being a starter on this defense, I'm super excited to see. Then you got Aaron Scott, Devin Sanchez, Bryce West, Miles Lockhart.
People forget about Miles Lockhart, and he was a guy, I'm pretty sure he was a summer enrollee. That kid's talented. Also, we've seen this before, like Lathan Ransom, Denzel Burke, guys that came out of Arizona that maybe were a little underrated as recruits that had really good careers. Don't sleep on Miles Lockhart, especially in that group of, Bryce West, Aaron Scott. He's right there with those guys, even though we may not talk about him as much.
And I've been saying this for a while, like Brian Hartline gets his flowers for the wide receiver talent, and he should. Tim Walton should get some flowers for the way he has been recruiting defensive backs, more importantly, cornerbacks, to Ohio State. This back seven for Ohio State is going to fly around. I think they can be multiple. I think Patricia will take advantage of that. I don't know if this defense as a whole was going to be good as last year, but I have a feeling they have the potential to definitely be more explosive and maybe better. They're going to force turnovers and create havoc.
Yeah, I agree. I think, look, statistically, will it look the same? Tough to say because it was so good last year. And you knew going into the season, given the familiarity of the personnel and the coaching staff, they're going to be good. This year, there's more, I don't want to say unknowns, but just sort of questions about, okay, we think this guy's this, or we think this guy's this. We think Matt Patricia, as you said, is going to bring versatility and things like that. But we got to see it, right? Yeah. And so, there could even be some growing pains early as they sort of figure things out. And maybe by the end of the season, maybe they're not ranked the number one defense, but they're playing at that level where it's like, all right, going into the playoff or whatever, you're like, offenses don't want to face these guys. Because I do think not only the talent, but the depth, other than maybe at that defensive tackle spot. But I do think they've developed some of that. With the Edric Houston injury, it was kind of forced, but they knew even going into camp, hey, these guys got to come along, right? This is probably priority number one on the defense is let's build that depth. And then obviously they had to find a couple starters at positions. But I agree. I think there's a lot of potential for this to be a really good group.
It's very exciting to spend, like I said, especially that talent in the defensive secondary. And then a guy like Arvell Reese who, came to Ohio State. They toyed with maybe putting him at defensive end, realized that wasn't it. He needs to be at linebacker, has really come on. Sonny Styles, we know his versatility, starting out as a safety, now as a linebacker. CJ Hicks, we've heard a lot about him for a few years. Are we going to see it now from him as they've moved him to an edge rusher? But a guy that's played linebacker could drop him back into cover. There's so many variables with this defense and so many athletes back there. I just think it's going to be something that, and again, Matt Patricia, there's going to be a learning curve with him, right? Because he's never coached in college like this before, never been a defensive coordinator in college. I think, though, that obviously his experience, he's obviously up for the job. And I just, like you said there, maybe it's not the whole season. We see what we saw last year, but I think at the end of the year, and obviously now that's what matters, right?
Right.
You can drop a game. If Ohio State loses to Texas, yeah, it's going to suck, but it doesn't keep them from getting to their end goal, which is winning a national championship. I think by the end of the year, when you get to the Michigan game, the playoffs after, which I don't think we think Ohio State will be there. They'll be in the 12-team field. This could be a defense that is just so fun to watch.
Yeah, and look, we're going to learn a lot about this defense early on with that Texas game, right? And they will grow. Even if they look great in the Texas game, they will still grow. There's still going to be sort of the development there. But I think it's a nice thing to have that test early because that film will show what you do well, but it'll also show any deficiencies that maybe didn't pop up during camp and give Matt Patricia and the rest of the staff a lot to work on over those couple weeks where you play teams that maybe aren't quite at that level.
I can't believe I'm about to say this, but Adam King actually said something smart the other day.
No way.
He was on Rothman and Ice, and they were talking about the quarterback battle. He's filling in for Matty Ice. And this is so true. When we talk about these two guys, Lincoln and Julian, we're always like, man, Julian's got a special release.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he can just really sling the ball, just flat out throw the ball. And then when we talk about Lincoln, we always say, oh, man, he's such an athlete. But it's more than that with Lincoln. Like, this guy's actually a good quarterback.
Yes.
And we never talk about what makes Lincoln a good quarterback. And part of that, obviously, is his athletic ability. He's able to move around in the pocket, extend plays. As a baseball player, he's probably really good at throwing on the run and completing passes that way. Patrick, you're out there. You've seen Lincoln not only these first three practices this year in fall camp, but you saw him in spring. You saw him last year. What is it that actually makes Lincoln a good quarterback? Because we never hear about, hey, this guy can throw the ball. He is a good quarterback.
Right. Well, and I think, too, there are a lot of Buckeye fans whose only real time, most Buckeye fans, unless you were out at practice or whatever, that the only time you saw him in a competitive setting, take the spring games away, was that Cotton Bowl game. And that did not go well, right?
And that's not fair at all.
No, it's not. I mean, that's on his resume, but he wasn't prepared to go into that game. The coaching staff prioritized getting Devin Brown all the reps leading into that. And he talked about wanting to, show that he's significantly more than that. And that's, I think an interesting driving point, but the talent is definitely there. Like, if he's your starter day one, I don't think you have anything to worry about if you're Ohio State. Does he have quite the ceiling in terms of arm talent as a Julian Sayin? Maybe not, but he's more experienced in this program. He knows the playbook. He's developed. He is the athlete that you were talking about. So there's a lot to like about Lincoln Kienholz. And the development, I think, is something, we don't always think about that, especially in the transfer portal age. It's like, well, let's, go get the guy. But these guys can get better, right? We see it all the time. Like, guys maybe don't have the start they want, but by the end of their career, oh, wow, that guy really went from point A to point B. And Lincoln has gotten better. He's worked hard, focusing only on football. Ryan Day's talked about that. So that's why whenever people ask me about this, I'm like, it's a real competition. Like, Ryan Day's not just going through the motions in this one. These guys are competing. And, I think with the talent you have, you're not going to go wrong either way. And both guys are good.
Bo talks about this on Bishop and Friends during quite a few times. Like, you're not only with this, and hopefully one of them says, hey, this is my job, and takes it. And you get some kind of separation here, but you're kind of picking about two styles of offenses here you're going to run with these two guys as well. If Julian Sayin's the guy, you're possibly going to have a more Dwayne Haskins, C.J. Stroud type offense. Right. If Lincoln Kienholz is the guy, you're going to have maybe a more Justin Fields. I don't think J.T. Barrett. I don't know if we'll go that far, but J.T. Barrett, Justin Fields, Will Howard type of offense. So it's kind of two. Maybe one of the guys, this offense is going to fit better one way. So maybe that's your guy too. It is just very interesting. And it's funny that, Lincoln's such an athlete. And yeah, that plays into what makes him good, but there's just more attributes than just, he's athletic that make him a good quarterback. And we also forget too, you mentioned the development. Quarterback is a developmental position.
Yes.
Look at the guys that have gone into the NFL the past couple of years that have had success early at the quarterback position. They're guys that have played a lot of college football. Yes. Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, C.J. Stroud. They're guys that got a lot of snaps. You've got to have those football snaps to develop at that quarterback position unless you're just something ridiculously special.
Right. And you're talking about, Lincoln is more than just an athlete. Julian's not an athlete.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? His first instinct isn't to take off. Not saying that that's Lincoln's, but he is capable of moving in the pocket. He can throw on the run. He can do that stuff. It's just, maybe that's not the first thing he does, whereas Lincoln relies a little bit more. And we'll see. We haven't seen it play out in that way. And again, I think those are things you can work on. And the nice thing about, you're talking about the offenses going into two potential, not completely different directions, but slightly different directions at least. Ohio State, as you listed, familiar with that. Ryan Day has ran offenses that have a guy who's not going to run and have guys that have. So you've got that in the playbook, right? It's not like you're going to have to install something completely different if one guy wins the job. It's all already there, which I think is a positive.
Speaking of quarterback play, surprise, surprise, Joe Burrow was really good the other night. Shedeur Sanders, it might be surprising, played pretty well. We'll tell you what we saw from the Browns and Bengals in their first preseason games next. It's Fan Sports Sunday on The Fan.
If you miss a live show, you can catch the podcast. If you miss the podcast, our hosts have volunteered to have dinner with you.
The meatloaf!
The Fan.
At Dick's Sporting Goods, we have always believed sport has the power to change lives. Community happens here. Change happens here. Sport happens here. Introducing the all-new Dick's House of Sport, bringing new experiences, new services, and unrivaled selection from the top brands to a new place Polaris can call home. Featuring a rock wall, a HitTrax multi-sport cage, and 3 golf hitting bays. Dick's House of Sport at Polaris Fashion Place. Grand opening celebration August 15th through August 17th.
Parents, let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Go for it.
We're listening.
Yeah. Are your teens good with money?
She's a good kid.
She's the
but
best,
yeah.
I get it. Switch to Huntington Bank, and your teen debit card can really help.
Oh?
You can set spending limits, and your kid can track budgets, so they learn that money doesn't, in fact, grow on trees.
I think we need this.
Sounds good, yeah. We feel you, parents. Let's get more from teen banking. Let's get more from money. Switch to Huntington Bank. Welcome. Eligibility requirements apply. Some features may require enrollment.
Lanny went to college and racked up huge debt.
A little bit over $100,000.
For a degree he couldn't use? Now what?
I had a friend that went to My Computer Career.
They even helped him get hired immediately after graduation.
One of the things I love about IT is that you can work from anywhere you want.
You could become an IT pro in just months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu. My Computer Career, an elite CompTIA certification partner.
It worked for me, and I know it can work for you.
This is one student's experience. Individual results vary.
At Kroger, you never compromise. You get high quality and low prices. Like you never compromise your meal with our spring salad mix that's guaranteed fresh. And you never compromise your budget with lower prices on over 1,000 items. Hand it to Kroger shoppers. You never compromise. Kroger. Fresh for everyone.
Athena cantaloupes, personal watermelons, or King of the West honeydew melons are only $2.88 each with your card. Kroger. Fresh for everyone.
Colin Man here for Universal Windows Direct. Are your leaky windows costing you money? Yes, they are. Right now, when you call my guys at Universal Windows Direct, you get payments as low as $99 a month or 12 months with no payments and no interest. Seriously, upgrade your home now and relax until next year. Call now and get a free in-home window and energy assessment. Choose the payment plan that's right for you. 614-502-5220 or go to universalwindowsdirect.com. Like me, you'll be saying, I love my windows.
Diane from Michigan, a disabled senior citizen trying to get by. Henry from Florida, a veteran fighting to make ends meet. Elena from Arizona, a mother struggling to feed her daughter. Hi, I'm Connie Britton, and I support Feeding America because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year, like Diane, Henry, and Elena. Learn more at feedingamerica.org. Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
Do you feel that? The season is getting closer. Buckeye football comes your way in 20 days. Every game, every season. Proud to be your flagship home for Ohio State football. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
Life's better with American Family Insurance. Because we know in making the most of your home, DIY doesn't just stand for do it yourself. It also means dream it yourself. And we're here to help protect the dreams you're building. Save up to 23% when you bundle home and auto. American Family Insurance. Get a quote and find an agent at amfam.com.
Products not available in every state. Visit amfam.com to learn how discounts may apply to you. American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating company, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
Burnt out, foggy, running on caffeine and willpower? It's time for a reset. Hydrate Me Med Spa brings next-level wellness to Central Ohio with medical-grade IV drips, NAD Plus for brain and energy support, and ozone therapy to detox at the cellular level. This isn't just self-care, it's a system upgrade. Feel sharper, sleep deeper, perform better. Now open in Dublin, Grandview, New Albany, and Granville. Book your drip at hydratememedSpa.com. Attention Columbus foodies. Are you a smoker of mouth-watering chicken wings? Then bring the heat to the Grove City Smokin' Hot Wing and Music Fest, presented by American Nitro. First place wins $1,000, but more importantly, bragging rights. It's all going down Saturday, October 4th with wings, beer, music, and more. Sign up your team today at americannitro.com/wingfest. Don't wait. Spots are filling up smoking fast. Wingfest supports local causes like Southwest Career Academy, Ghosts of War, and Gigi's. Let's wing it for a great cause. Sign your team up today.
Spend Labor Day weekend at Great American Ballpark. Cheer on the Reds when they face the Cardinals in a 3-game set August 29th through the 31st. Enjoy a fantastic post-game fireworks show on Friday presented by Toyota. Saturday, fans in attendance will receive a Hunter Green bobblehead featuring the Reds ace with his French Bulldog Ross, thanks to Tri-Health while supplies last. Bring the whole crew on Sunday and enjoy some afternoon baseball. Visit Reds.com/tickets today.
The Fan Guest Hotline is sponsored by Federal Elite Heating and Cooling and Bryant, doing whatever it takes to keep you and your home comfortable. The Fan.
During weekend programming, pants are optional.
Look at my butt!
However, leather chairs may have been a bad choice. You're listening to Fan Sports Sunday.
Final segment, Fan Sports Sunday. On this beautiful Sunday, little Reds, Pirates coming up next here on The Fan. The AP poll comes out tomorrow. I believe that is at noon because it comes out right as we end Bishop and Friends, so we won't get to talk about it until Tuesday. Everybody else will get to talk about it before us. But in the break, Nate, you were saying one of your buddies sent you the first ever AP poll, and there's some teams that you wouldn't believe.
There are some teams that you would not believe. The first ever AP poll from 1936. It was a top 20. Number 11, Duquesne.
Wow.
Number 12, St. Mary's. Marquette at number 20. Do they even have football anymore?
That's what I was thinking. I don't think they do they?
And here's your top 5 for the teams that you are all familiar with all these, but none of them you would put in a top 5 anymore. Number 5, Purdue.
Okay.
Number 4, Northwestern.
All right.
Number 3, Army.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, Duke.
Oh.
And number 1, Minnesota.
And Minnesota was the one I got right away because I remember like that was the beginning or just before they had like 3 in a row, 3 national championships in a row. The last team to do that, the Minnesota Golden Gophers. So, yeah, football's changed a little bit in the last 90 years. Although I do remember some decent Purdue and Northwestern teams, although those might be the 2 worst in the Big Ten this year. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Purdue's probably going to be pretty rough this year.
Yeah. Like, look, Northwestern's been in a couple Big Ten championship games against Ohio State. Obviously, with the way the divisions were, that made it a bit easier. And Purdue, I mean, it wasn't that, not to bring up a bad memory, but it wasn't that long ago the Buckeyes went. I mean, the Buckeyes have actually had some pretty bad days at Ross-Ade Stadium. Yeah. But that Purdue team was actually pretty good. I mean, they had,
Is that Rondell Moore,
yes,
I believe?
Yep. Had the huge game against the Buckeyes, the night game. That was wild. I just remember being on the sideline and at the end of the fourth quarter, or towards the end of the fourth quarter, some of the other reporters and just like, what did we just watch? Like, how did this happen? We knew the defense wasn't great, and Dwayne Haskins played well, but it was just like, you're getting blown out by Purdue.
I feel like because it was back-to-back years, right? Iowa and Purdue.
Yes,
you had those crazy, real bad, out of nowhere losses. And I always, when I would think of that, I always think of that scene from the movie Black Sheep, which was Chris Farley and David Spade, kind of like their follow-up to Tommy Boy. And Chris Farley falls down the hill and then catches himself, and the little plant lets go, and he rolls the rest of the way down the hill. And I just remember him, he like catches his bearings at the bottom of the hill and looks up, and he's like, what was that all about?
The Iowa game, the only time in a decade Iowa has ever had an offense.
Yeah,
ever.
Right. Yeah, two future NFL star tight ends on that team. And it didn't help that after the great comeback for JT Barrett against Penn State the week before, he goes out and throws a pick 6 on the first play of the game. That kind of set the tone.
Yeah, not great at all. Those were some memories we'd like to delete. NFL this weekend, Browns and Bengals both kicked off their preseason action. The Bengals, you got a full quarter of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, and then the Browns, Shedeur Stewart looked pretty good. What were both of your guys' impressions of what we saw from the Bengals and Browns this weekend?
I think Bengals-wise, Like, this is what you expect from, especially when the first team was out there. You know, they fed Jamar Chase 4 targets, 4 receptions, 77 yards, and a touchdown. I thought Joe Burrow looked good. I think it's interesting because the Bengals have not played their starters much, if at all, in the preseason the last few years, and we know they have had these slow starts to the season. So obviously a change in philosophy here to let's get these guys some reps. Let's kind of knock the rust off in game. We'll see how it does, but I thought they looked pretty good. Browns-wise, I was really impressed with Shedeur Sanders, and I've not been a big Shedeur Sanders guy. I did, when we were at the NFL Combine, stand in the mass of people that were listening to him talk, and I was impressed with just his demeanor and how he handled all of that. But just on the field, I didn't know how it would look. And like the touchdown he threw early in the game, that was an NFL throw, you know, and I thought he really settled in. That offense, obviously, we'll see what happens with this Quinshon Judkins situation because he was expected to be a big part of that. But, I thought Dylan Sampson, the Tennessee running back, looked solid. So it's preseason. You should be optimistic that, especially Browns fans, this is the best time of the year most of the time, right?
All downhill from here.
Yeah, but I will be interested to see if Dylan Gabriel gets some reps in the preseason just because I think a lot of people were surprised that the Browns took him and Shedeur. So we'll see. I don't know. Reeser and I were talking yesterday. He's all about playing these rookies instead of playing a Joe Flacco or a Kenny Pickett and like seeing what you got. And look, I was asking a buddy last night, like, what's your record? He's a big Browns fan. What's the record you need before you're like, yep, go to a rookie? And he was like, if you start 0-3 and it doesn't look great, I'd go to one of them right away.
So, like, I'm a Browns fan, and I don't feel like they're going to be good. I feel like the Browns' ceiling this year is like 7-10. Mm-hmm. And what does that get you? And that's with Joe Flacco, right?
Right.
So, to me, you've got 2 picks that I think are going to be top 10 picks next year because they have the Jaguars pick as well. I don't think the Browns or the Jaguars are going to be very good this year. So, to me, I would love to see what I have with Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. And do we have something here?
Right.
Did we maybe hit a lottery ticket, or should we be looking next year at a Cade Klubnik, Drew Aller, Garrett Nussmeier, whoever it is in the top 10?
Yeah, actually, my question to that as a Browns fan, would you rather go 7-10 with Flacco and then maybe eventually turn it over to one of the other guys? Or would you rather go like get just 2 wins with the rookies and find out what you have?
I do. 7-10 gets you nowhere to me in the NFL. You're not going to get better being 7-10. To me, I'd rather see if one of these guys show something and we're like, hey, yeah, we can move forward with him, or no, we got to start over again next year.
Yeah, I thought Shedeur looked shaky at the beginning against the first team defense, but it's expected. It's his first time ever playing in the NFL. That first touchdown pass was a great NFL touchdown pass, and I thought he looked solid. And then he was a total pro in that post game. I was very impressed with his attitude.
The one thing I think with to your question, Nate, I think it depends on what comes out next year, right?
Yeah.
Like, are one of these guys the next quarter? Like, everyone was talking about Arch Manning, right? We'll see what Arch Manning is this season. There's obviously been a ton of hype, as we've talked about. But are one of these guys the guy that you think is the future? Because it's probably the Browns and the Saints are the 2 teams that everyone's kind of talking about as needing a quarterback that'll be, you think, towards the top of the draft. So are one of those guys that you mentioned going to be the guy you want as a number 1, number 2 overall draft pick? Or is it one of those classes where like, they might be good? Because in that case, being 7-10 might be okay because you'd have one really good pick and one in the middle of the round. So, not that you can know that as you go through the season, but I think that does sort of play a part in the back of people's minds.
And listen, Nate, you mentioned Shedeur and how he's handled everything. You talked about him in this media scrum over, what was it, the Combine or the draft at the Combine in Indianapolis. Listen, I feel like Shedeur Sanders, and I have questions about him too in his game, and maybe I didn't pay attention to him enough at Colorado. I don't think there's any doubt he has the arm talent and he has the athletic ability to be a guy in the league. I feel like this dude has just handled everything pretty daggone well. Outside of a couple speeding tickets, I feel like this dude has come in and he has been a pro and done everything pretty much the right way. Do you feel like you're not getting a fair shake? I can't control that. I just got to do what I can on the field. Like, he has been taught well, at least it seems like, how to be a pro by his dad. And I think probably the other night, maybe he earned a little more playing time and a little more look here from the Browns. And listen, that's what you have to do, especially as a 5th round pick. When you get an opportunity, you have to do everything you can to get more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, they obviously didn't have a ton of options the other night with injuries and whatnot, but I think he did exactly what you needed to do. Could it have been better? To Nate's point, could you have come out and, looked like, hey, I should have been that first round, second round pick? Yeah, maybe. But again, it's his first game. It's his first opportunity. Yeah. And again, I did think he settled in real nicely.
Pat, it was fun to finally get to do a show with you. Hopefully we get to do a couple more of at least these Fan Sports Sundays. There's some other shows. I know this is a busy time for you as Buckeye football is in full swing. Nate, thanks. Great job as well out of you on the other side of the glass. The Reds and Pirates, they wrap up their 4-game series, and you can hear it next right here on The Fan.
Question from a listener: do you dopes ever get tired of talking about Ohio State? No. The Buckeye Show.
Weeknights at 6.
The Fan.
The roof of your home protects what matters most in your life: your family, your memories, your peace of mind. So when it comes time to replace the roof over your head, you need a name you can trust: Newman Roofing. Don't just take our word for it. Here's our friend Cindy on why she chose Newman Roofing over all the rest.
We had interviewed and talked with several other roofing companies around the city. The salesperson that came to speak with us was extremely knowledgeable, answered questions, took his time with us. We were happy to make Newman our choice.
And you'll have peace of mind knowing that on the day of the installation, we'll give you and your home the respect it deserves.
The guys arrived right on time. The crew leader came and talked with us, let us know what they were going to be doing. He was here all day with the crew. That itself was very impressive.
If you're thinking about your roofing or siding, give Newman Roofing a call today.
We were very happy with our experience, and we would highly recommend Newman to anybody we talk to.
Don't just get a new roof, get a Newman roof. Call 614-NEW-ROOF or visit online at newmanroofing.com.
And we're back talking all things connectivity with Spectrum customers Kev and Melissa. So tell us, how long have you been with Spectrum, and how important is a reliable internet connection?
We've been Spectrum customers since we moved 12 years ago. The first thing we did is sign up for Spectrum Internet.
You get a lease, you get it Wi-Fi.
Yes,
immediately.
We need that. We had Spectrum Wi-Fi before our couch got here.
That's true. That's a true story.
I'll sleep on the floor, but I won't go to bed with no internet.
You heard it here. Switch to Spectrum now.
At Dick's Sporting Goods, we have always believed sport has the power to change lives. Community happens here. Change happens here. Sport happens here. Introducing the all-new Dick's House of Sport, bringing new experiences, new services, and unrivaled selection from the top brands to a new place Polaris can call home. Featuring a rock wall, a HitTrax multi-sport cage, and 3 golf hitting bays. Dick's House of Sport at Polaris Fashion Place. Grand opening celebration August 15th through August 17th.
Got one of those days that never stops? Try a stop at Speedway and refresh the vibe with 69-cent large big gulp drinks. Get 69-cent large big gulp drinks at Speedway with Speedy Rewards. The convenience stores of Speedway. Valid through 8/26/25. See app for full terms.
Hi, welcome to IKEA. Hi, I'm in a whirlwind of college prep. Gotcha. We've got affordable solutions to create the perfect college living space. Great. And visit our website to see how verified college students with an IKEA family account can receive a one-time use 15% off coupon. Nice. You guys think of everything. Pretty much. Offer ends 9/30/25. Valid ID required. Discount applied proportionally across items purchased as shown on receipt. See IKEA-USA.com/ready-for-college for complete terms.
Listen to Financially Fit Radio with Corey Sickles this Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on 1460 ESPN, covering topics like what you need to know about annuities and how to stay healthy and enjoy retirement. Financially Fit Radio this Saturday at 9 a.m. on 1460 ESPN.
Broadcasting from the Lindsay Honda Studios.
Honda makes the cars. Lindsay makes the difference. Visit lindsayhonda.com.
WBNS-FM, HD1 Columbus. The Fan. Sports Center.
And I'm Nate Pooterball. It's just 20 days until OSU versus Texas, but Ryan Day isn't staying still. The Buckeyes are set to hire former NFL defensive coordinator Josh Boyer to the coaching staff. He served as the Dolphins defensive coordinator from 2020 to 2022 and spent 13 seasons with the Patriots, where he worked with Matt Patricia. In baseball, the Reds got back on track last night, beating the Pirates 2-1. Nick Martinez went 7 innings strong, and Noelvi Marte hit 3 doubles and drove in a run and scored the other in the win. They'll wrap up the series today at 1:35. Catch the action right here on The Fan. And in Chicago, the Guardians kept it rolling, beating the White Sox 3-1. Guardians rookie C.J. Kayfus hit his first MLB home run in the win. They'll finish the series this afternoon at 2:10. And in NFL news, Rams quarterback Matt Stafford has missed all of training camp with an aggravated disc in his back. He is week to week and expected to miss all of preseason. Breaking sports news when it happens on The Fan, Ohio sports destination.